بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء والمرسلين نبينا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين أما بعد. طيب. Today inshallah we'll start with the last two pillars of Iman. We already did 4 from Ad-Durus al-Muhimma li'amat al-Ummah. Important lessons for every Muslim by Sheikh bin Baz rahimahullah, with Sheikh abdur-razaq al-Badr, his explanation. Hafidahullah. So we already did belief in Allah. We finished belief in the angels. Belief in the previous books, and belief in the messengers. Alayhimus salam. So today, bismillah, we start with the pillar that every Muslim has to believe in. Every Muslim has to believe in these 6 pillars. And the next pillar, al-asl al-khamisu min usul al-iman, al-imanu bil-yawm al-akhir. Belief in the last day. Belief in the last day, which has many names mentioned in the Quran, from Yawm al-Qiyamah, and there are many different names mentioned. But in English we say the last day or the day of judgment. So from the usul, the basic things that every Muslim has to believe in is that there's a last day, that all of the people come before Allah Jalla wa Ala, and everyone is held accountable for their actions. So he starts off saying what belief in the last day consists of. What does it entail? Al-imanu bil-yawm al-akhir huwa al-iman bi-kulli ma yakunu ba'da al-mawt mimma ja'a dhikruhu wa tafsiluhu fi al-kitab wa sunnah. Belief in the last day, it consists of believing in everything that is mentioned. And if it's mentioned in detail, we believe in the details that are mentioned. Everything that's going to happen after death. Everything that happens when a person dies is part of belief in the last day. From the time a person dies until the standing. As is mentioned, and those things are mentioned, the things that we believe, they're either mentioned in the Quran or in the Sunnah of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Then he says, "Wal-maut bidayatul yawm al-akhir." Death, when a person dies, it is the beginning of the last day for them. As the first thing they're going to go through is the trial in the grave, fitnatul qabr, the questioning in the grave. And that's what he says next. "Wal-qabru awwalu manazil al-akhirah." The first part of the hereafter is the experience in the grave. Is the experience in the grave when those angels come and question a person in the grave, as comes in a hadith, because all of the beliefs in Yawm al-Akhir, in the last day, are based on text. Either it's explained to us, either Allah explained it to us in the Quran, what's going to happen on the last day, or the Prophet ﷺ explained to us in the hadith, in the sunnah, of what's going to happen on the last day. So this is how we know the details of what's going to happen. Either it came in the Quran or in the sunnah. So from the things that came in the sunnah is the statement of the Prophet ﷺ, what's going to happen to the person when they're in their grave. And when the 2 angels come to the person in the grave and they sit him up, and then they ask him the 3 questions: who is your Lord, who is your prophet, and what is your religion? And the person, Allah make us of those who are firm and answer the questions correctly. A person will answer based on his belief and his upholding of Iman in the dunya. So that's the first stop, or that's the first thing from the things that will happen on the last day. He says, "Man mata qamat qiyamatuhu." وَبَدَأَتْ سَاعَتُهُ. So whoever dies, when a person dies, then his qiyamah, his judgment has begun. He started. So the first thing is the angel's going to come to the grave. Once all the people walk off, after he's buried or she is buried, then the angels come and they question him, which are serious questions. And that hadith is a serious hadith. In the book, Thalathatul Usul, the 3 fundamental principles, was written based on that hadith, so that a person knows who their Lord is, who their prophet is, and what their religion is, so that they can be successful in answering those questions in the grave. So, this belief in the last day consists of everything that happens after a person dies. Neither is mentioned in the Quran or is mentioned in the Sunnah. So now he mentions some examples. Like, min fitnat al-Qadr, wa adhabihi wa na'imihi. Like the questioning in the grave and the punishment in the grave. Or the easy stay in the grave for the person who answers the questions correctly. The easy stay that person will have in the grave, may Allah make us from them. Or if the person answers the questions incorrectly, the punishment that is connected to the grave is from belief in the Yawm al-Akhir. It happens after a person dies. ثُمَّ مَا يَكُونُ بَعْدَ ذَلِكَ مِنْ أُمُورٍ. Everything that happens after that. For example, مِنَ الْبَعْثِ, the resurrection. The resurrection is from the belief in Yawm al-Qiyamah, that the people will be raised up, resurrected out of our graves, and we will have to stand and answer for our actions. And also, wal-qiyam bayni yaday Rabbil Alameen, and the standing before Allah Jalla wa Ala, is from belief in the last day. Wal-hashr, the gathering, where Allah will gather all of mankind on an open plain, an open field. And these are mentioned in the hadith. These are mentioned in different hadiths, these different things that we have to believe in. Wal-mawazin, the scales, believing in the scales, that a person's deeds will be weighed on the scale. Wal-sirat, and the bridge that the Prophet ﷺ described in the hadith. If I'm not mistaken, it said that the bridge will be thin like a hair, a strand of hair. If I'm not mistaken, as it came in the hadith, that will take place, that everyone will have to cross that bridge. And the opening of the books, tatayur as-suhuf, that the books will be opened. Everybody's book with their actions recorded will be opened. فَآخِذٌ كِتَابَهُ بِالْيَمِينِ وَآخِذٌ كِتَابَهُ بِالشِّمَالِ. So some people, when the books are given, some people will take their book of deeds in their right hand, and some people will take their book of deeds in their left hand. And this is mentioned in the Quran, and a lot of the other things are mentioned in the Sunnah and in the Quran. Point being, these details, also al-Jannah wal-Nar, the paradise and the hellfire. All of these are from the belief in the pillar, belief in the last day. He says in the details that are connected to the hellfire, التفاصيل المتعلقة بعذاب النار. The details connected to the hellfire are from belief in the last day, and also the details connected to the pleasures of paradise are connected to belief in the last day. Everything that happens after death is from belief in the last day. Now, the levels of belief in the last day, he mentions two levels. Al-Iman bil-Yawm al-Akhir al-Darajatayn. Two levels of belief in the last day. One, the first level, every Muslim has to abide by or meet this requirement. It's impossible to be a Muslim if this first level of Iman in the last day is not met. And this is Imanun Jazim. Iman Jazim. Full, complete belief. Complete belief, alladhi la yuqbal imanun illa bihi. A person's belief in Allah is not correct if their Iman is not Jazim. He's going to explain what Jazim is. the belief in the last day. أن يجزم ولا يشك أن ثمة يوم آخر فيه حساب وعقاب. That a person has full, complete belief with no doubt that there's a day, Yawm al-Qiyamah, there's a last day, and on that day, everyone will be held accountable. There will be accountability, and there will be punishments, and there will be rewards. With no doubt. This level, every Muslim has to believe in with no doubt. If a person has doubt, if there's a last day, they can't be a Muslim, they can't be a believer. There's 6 pillars of faith, every pillar has to be believed in. This is Iman, as the Prophet ﷺ explained in the hadith of Jibril. When he came and he asked the Prophet ﷺ 3 questions, the second question he says, what is Iman? And the Prophet ﷺ said, Iman is to believe in Allah, His angels, His books, His messengers, Yawm al-Akhir, the last day. This is Iman, to believe in the last day. So the Muslim has to believe in the last day. In this level, no one is free from. Everyone has to believe without any doubt. Without any doubt. He says, فَمَنْ شَكَّ أَوْ إِرْتَابَ فَلَا يَكُونُ مُؤْمِنًا. Whoever has some doubt or they're hesitant, I don't really know if it's the last day or not, they can't be a believer. This is not acceptable. Everyone has to believe without doubt. The Muslim believes without doubt that there's a last day, that we're all held accountable for our deeds, that the angels are writing in our books, as Allah says in the Quran, that the book, every person's book, will be attached to their neck. Allah give success Yawm al-Qiyamah. That's the first level. Complete belief without any doubt that yes, there is a last day. And on that day, people will be held accountable, some people will be rewarded, and some people will be punished. The second level of Iman, he says, Imanun rasikh. In this level, it's possible that people differ based on their Iman, based on how strong a person's belief is. And he explains this. This is, as he says, this Iman is the type الذي يستحضره العبد في المناسبات وفي الأحوال وفي الأعمال وفي الأمور. That a person he's constant. He or she is constantly in the remembrance of Allah. And this constant remembrance of Allah, it causes them to behave a certain way. So he says, بحيث كلما أراد أن يقدم على شيء تذكر إيمان باليوم الآخر. Every time he thinks about, or she thinks about doing something, an action, Yawm al-Qiyamah comes to their head and they think about it, and either they continue with the action or they don't. If it's something pleasing to Allah, then they continue with the action. If it's something displeasing to Allah, then they hold back and refrain from doing that action. And this could vary from person to person. A person's Iman may be stronger than the next person's Iman. A person's belief, his faith might be stronger than the next brother's or sister's faith. Where one brother or one sister, she may always stay in the dhikr all the time, more than the next person. And it could vary from person to person. It's not like the first level, where we're all on the same playing field, basically. We all have to believe. The Muslim believes with no doubt there's a last day, and people will be held accountable for their actions on the last day. The second level is that a person is constantly aware. Every action that they do, they're aware of it. That's for us to look at ourselves, and we gauge our own self, not looking at the next person and saying, engaging them, but to gauge ourselves. Are we aware? Am I aware? Am I remembering Allah throughout the day? Or is it just when I'm in the masjid? Or only when I see a Muslim? But when I'm by myself, do I remember Allah? Or when there are no other Muslims around and I'm the only Muslim, do I remember Allah? And that's for every person to gauge themselves, to look at themselves. Tayyib. So he says also, the person who does this, who is constantly aware, he says, they have a certain type of description. They behave a certain way. The one who's constantly remembering Allah behaves a certain way. تجده في كل وقت يستعد ويتهيأ لليوم الآخر. You find this person, they're always preparing themselves. They're preparing for the last day. They're always preparing for the last day. And as we said, this could vary from person to person. But Allah described the people in the Quran who behave like this. Those who constantly remembered and were in the dhikr that there's a Yawm al-Qiyamah in Surah al-Tur. They said, قالوا قال تعالى قالوا إنا كنا قبل في أهلنا مشفقين فمن الله علينا ووقانا عذاب السموم in Surah al-Tur. Ayats 26 and 27. And in tafsir these two ayat, Allah says that those, He's describing the people who are constantly, in all of their actions, they remember, there's a last day that I'm going to be held accountable for, Yawm al-Qiyamah, I'm going to have to answer for this. If I do this, Allah's going to hold me accountable, because it's going to be written in my book. My book is going to be attached to my neck. And they're constantly remembering. So they said, Allah said about them in the Quran, قالوا. And they were talking to some, they were saying to other people, they're describing how did they get to that level, that they were constantly remembering the last day. Now they're going to explain, those people are going to explain now in the Quran how they got to that level. How did they get to the level in the Akhirah where they're happy and they're in the paradise? So they said, قالوا إنا كنا قبل, that we used to be, يعني in the dunya, في الدنيا, in this life, that we used to be في أهلنا مشفقين. When we were in the dunya, in this life, living with our families, they said they had fear of Allah. خائفين. They had taqwa. They had fear of Allah. They feared Allah. And that fear of Allah, knowing that there's going to be a punishment, knowing that there's a day that I have to answer for the good and the bad, what I said to this one, what I did to this one, if I took something without right, knowing that day, they're explaining, فَتَرَكْنَا مِنْ خَوْفِهِ الذُّنُوبِ. So due to our fear of Allah, we left off disobeying Allah. We left off sins. We left off sins due to our fear of Allah. وَأَصْلَحْنَا لِذَلِكَ الْعُيُوبِ. And that fear also caused us to correct ourselves. Our shortcomings we corrected our shortcomings based on our fear of Allah, knowing that we're going to be held accountable Yawm al-Qiyamah. And then they said, فَمَنَّ اللَّهُ عَلَيْنَا. So when we did this, they're explaining how they reached the point that they reached. So when we did this out of fear and we left off sins, مَنَّ اللَّهُ فَمَنَّ اللَّهُ عَلَيْنَا. So Allah gifted us with hidayah, bil-hidayah wa tawfiq. Allah gave us guidance. Allah gave us guidance because we feared Allah and we kept in mind that there's a Yawm al-Qiyamah, there's a last day that we're going to be held accountable for. So Allah gave us the guidance and the tawfiq, and He gave us the success. وَوَقَانَا عَذَابَ السَّمُومِ. And He protected us from al-'adhab al-har al-shadid, the tormenting, painful hellfire, based on our constant remembrance of there's a last day. And this is the second level, not the first level that every Muslim has to believe in with no doubt. That's one level, that the Muslims on the same playing field. There's no Muslim can have doubt that there's going to be a last day. And on that last day, mankind will be held accountable. Some people get punished, some people get rewarded. Everybody's the same. The second level, to constantly keep that in mind with every action you do, that could vary from person to person. The people who do that, constantly remember Allah and constantly remember the last day, they explain in the Quran how they did that. How did they get to the paradise, and how did they get that guidance? Based on our fear. Based on their fear of Allah. And based on their fear, Allah gave them guidance. Allah gave them guidance, and He gave them the success to be able to enter the paradise. Then He says, this fear of Allah constantly remembering Allah, constantly remembering the last day. This yurithu al-isti'dad wa tahiyyah. It breeds in a person, if a person is constantly being mindful of Allah, and it's the last day, and all those things you just mentioned, then it breeds in the person that they have to prepare themselves for that last day. So it breeds in the person that they have to prepare themselves. And then he mentions another ayat that was mentioned previously. And this ayat is in Surah Al-Haqqa, ayat 19 and 20. Where Allah says, فَأَمَّا مَنْ أُوتِيَ كِتَابَهُ بِيَمِينِهِ فَيَقُولُ هَاؤُمُ اقْرَءُوا كِتَابِيَهْ إِنِّي ظَنَنْتُ أَنِّي مُلَاقٍ حِسَابِيَهْ. Allah said in Surah Al-Haqqa, as for those who will receive their books in their right hands, and he talked about that earlier, then they're going to say to the other people, هَاؤُمُ اقْرَءُوا كِتَابِيَهْ. They're going to say, hey, come look at my book. Come read my book. The person's going to say to another person. The person gets his book in his right hand. He's going to call the other creation to come read his book. And then he explains himself. إِنِّي ظَنَنْتُ أَنِّي مُلَاقٍ حِسَابِيَهْ. So it says in the tafsir of this ayat, which is in Surah Al-Haqqa, the people who receive their books in their right hand, هَؤُلَاءِ هُمْ أَهْلُ السَّعَادَةِ, that these are the people who will be in paradise. They're happy. They were given their books, the book containing their deeds. It will be given to them in their right hands. فِيهَا أَعْمَالُهُمْ الصَّالِحَةِ بِأَيْمَانِهِمْ يُعْطَوْنَ كُتُبَهُمْ الَّتِي فِيهَا أَعْمَالُهُمْ الصَّالِحَةِ بِأَيْمَانِهِمْ. They will be given their books that had their deeds in it, their righteous deeds. They will be given their books in their right hands. تَمْيِيزًا لَهُمْ, as a distinguishment, to distinguish who's who. Because there's going to be another group of people that Allah spoke about in the same surah that will be given their books in their left hands, behind their backs. And their situation is different from the people who receive the books in their right hands. So the ones who received the book in their right hands, they said, يَقُولُ أَحَدُهُمْ عِنْدَ ذَلِكَ مِنَ الْفَرْحِ. He's going to be so happy, the person is so happy that they got their book in their right hand, that they said the next thing which comes in the ayat. مَحَبَّةً. And they were so happy, مَحَبَّةً أَنْ يَطَّلَعَ الْخَلْقُ عَلَى مَا مَنَّ اللَّهُ عَلَيْهِ بِهِ مِنَ الْكَرَامَةِ. They're going to be so happy to receive their books in their right hands and what Allah blessed them with in the akhirah and the hereafter, that they're going to say to other people from the creation, هَاؤُمُ اقْرَءُوا كِتَابِيَهْ دُونَكُمْ كِتَابِي خُذْ, يعني, take my book, look at my book. They're going to tell them, look at my book, اقْرَؤُوهُ, read it, read my book, look what I got. Because they're happy that Allah gave them their book in their right hand, and their book is filled with good deeds, righteous actions. And their book is filled with, he says, فَإِنَّهُ يُبَشِّرُ بِالْجَنَّاتِ. There's going to be good deeds in this book, glad tidings of something, of the paradise coming in his book, وَمَغْفِرَةُ الذُّنُوبِ, forgiveness that Allah forgave him for sins, sitrul uyub, that Allah covered some of his mistakes. All of this will be present in his book. So out of happiness, he's going to call some of the other creation that are there to look at his book and read his book, or her book. And what got them to this level? How did they get to this point where they can be happy about showing another person what is in their book? It says, مَا مَنَّ اللَّهُ بِهِ عَلَيَّ مِنَ الْإِيمَانِ بِالْبَعْثِ وَالْحِسَابِ. That Allah blessed them with the belief that there is a day of resurrection and a day of accountability. So based on that blessing of Iman, belief in that, they were able to attain the paradise, and they were able to attain that level. It says also, well, it's their dad. Allah blessed them to be able to prepare themselves. And from preparation is doing the proper acts of obedience and worship to Allah Jalla wa Ala. And then they said, and the point mentioned in the ayat was, they also said, إِنِّي ظَنَنْتُ أَنِّي مُلَاقٍ حِسَابِيَهْ. They said, and the word dhan is used here. Dhan means to think something. I thought. If you literally translate it, I thought. Dhanantu, I thought. But it says here, this dhan here, it says qantu. I had certainty, I was sure. How did they receive their books in their right hands to the point where they were able and they were happy to show other people what was in their book? They said, Inni dhanantu anni mulaqin hisabiya. I was sure that I was going to meet my Lord. I was sure I was going to meet my Lord. Therefore, they behaved a certain way and they carried themselves a certain way. فَالظَّنْ هُنَا بِمَعْنَى الْيَقِينِ. So where it usually could mean to think something, it says dhan here means yaqeen, to be certain. The people were certain that they were going to stand before Allah. Therefore, they carried themselves in a certain way. And Allah said the same thing in another ayah about those who are sure they have this certainty in Yawm al-Qiyamah, the last day that they're going to meet Allah. And this is in Surah Al-Baqarah, where Allah spoke about, He said, وَاسْتَعِينُوا بِالصَّبْرِ وَالصَّلَاةِ, to seek Allah's help by being patient in prayer and making the salat. And then Allah said that the salat, وَإِنَّهَا لَكَبِيرَةٌ إِلَّا عَلَى الْخَاشِعِينَ. After Allah described, or said, commanded, it's a command, وَاسْتَعِينُوا. He commanded to seek Allah's help, how? Through patience and prayer, the salat, making the salat. Tayyib. He goes on, Allah goes on and says that the salat is, he says, la kabira, something heavy, shaqa. The salat is heavy on some people. For some people it's difficult. It's difficult to get up, pray salat al-fajr. It's difficult to stop everything they're doing and pray salat al-dhuhr or asr al-maghrib or isha. Whatever the salat is, for some people, it's difficult. And that's what Allah said. فَإِنَّهَا لَكَبِيرَةٌ. Indeed, that the salat is kabira, shaqa, is heavy. It's difficult for some people. Then Allah said, He explained who it's not difficult for. Yeah, it's difficult for some people, but for some people it's easy. For some people, it's easy to get up and come pray salat al-fajr. It's easy to stop everything they're doing. It's easy to stop everything they're doing and pray salat al-dhuhr. It's easy. That remembrance of the salat is in their head all the time. It's easy for them. Allah said those people, He said, it's heavy except illa ala al-khashi'een. The people who He described Jalla wa ala as being al-khashi'een. The khashi'een. Those people who have the fear of Allah. They constantly remembering Allah. For those people, and this is the tafsir of Imam al-Saajid, rahimahullah, he says, فَإِنَّهَا السَّهْلَ عَلَيْهِمْ خَفِيفًا. For the people who constantly are in the remembrance of Allah, the salah is easy for them.